Now, when Hitler would invade a country, the German Foreign Office would get involved to help round up the Jews in those countries, herd them into ghettos, provincial transportation into the concentration and extermination camps. Credit Suisse had 4 accounts with the German Foreign Office, and these were administered at the highest levels of the Nazi government, with Adolf Hitler's own personal secret cabinet council of advisors dispatching the account manager in 1940 to go to Zurich to meet with officials at Credit Suisse to discuss the fund management of these accounts in the interest of the Third Reich. Not only are we seeing a surge in anti-Semitism right now, we're also seeing its normalization. It's everywhere. College campuses, social media, political discourse, even from government officials at times. And one of the things that my testimony shows is what happens when the violent anti-Semitism preached by Hitler in the 1940s and some of the all too common voices of extremism today become mainstreamed. Time and time again, history has shown what happens when anti-Semitism is met with silence.
Now, Mr. Borowski.
Chairman Grassley, Ranking Member Durbin, Senator Whitehouse, members of the committee, my name is Neil Borowski, and it is my privilege to testify before you today as the independent ombudsperson. In that role, it is my job to provide independent oversight and ensure the integrity of the ongoing investigation into the ties between Credit Suisse and the Nazis before, during, and after World War II. As the chairman noted, my path to this hearing has not been an easy one. In 2022, I was fired by Credit Suisse when I refused to go along with its efforts to suppress the truth. But thanks to the encouragement of Chairman Grassley and then Chairman Whitehouse, I was rehired by UBS with a mandate to finish my job. I can't put in words how grateful I am to both of you for your trust in me and your support. I'd also like to thank my co-panelists, Rabbi Cooper and the Simon Wiesenthal Center. But for their courage, their refusal to be silenced, and their commitment, their deep, deep commitment that there is no such thing as an expiration date for accountability for those who enabled the Holocaust, there'd be no testimony today, and there'd be no investigation. I'd also like to thank UBS for rehiring me and for its commitment of resources. And although I disagree very strongly with Mr. Karofsky's characterization that the bank has any right under our engagement letter to withhold any relevant documents from us, privileged or otherwise, it is those resources that make all of this possible, including the final report that I plan to prepare by the end of this year, which will set forth not only additional details about what's in my testimony today, but the many other areas that are in scope and will be included as part of this investigation. In my testimony today, we talk about some of the previously unreported ties between Credit Suisse and some of the instrumentalities of the Nazi government. This includes accounts with something called the German Foreign Office. Now, when Hitler would invade a country, the German Foreign Office would get involved to help round up the Jews in those countries, herd them into ghettos, provincial transportation into the concentration and extermination camps. Credit Suisse had 4 accounts with the German Foreign Office, and these were administered at the highest levels of the Nazi government, with Adolf Hitler's own personal secret cabinet council of advisors dispatching the account manager in 1940 to go to Zurich to meet with officials at Credit Suisse to discuss the fund management of these accounts in the interest of the Third Reich. My testimony also corrects an historical error. Back in the 1990s, a Swiss-German journalist found in some German archives documents that indicated a relationship between Credit Suisse and the SS and its economic arm called DWB. Now, the SS, of course, was paramilitary organization used by the Nazis, whose responsibilities included the administration of the concentration camps. And DWB was part of its economic arm, part of the Nazi enterprise of profiting off of the Holocaust. This meant monetizing everything from the slave labor of concentration camp prisoners, from the theft of their assets and personal belongings when they got to the camps, and even monetizing murder. selling the hair that was shaved off of Jewish women and children as they were marched into the chambers. But Credit Suisse denied the existence of this account and said that there was no records in its archives. This investigation has proven that to be untrue. The investigation has found an account registry card in the name of Leo Volk, a convicted Nazi war criminal who oversaw the millions in Swiss francs in today's currency of dirty Nazi SS money that was in that account. The investigation has also disclosed for the first time how that money got there, how the SS used another account at Credit Suisse, this one in the name of a Swiss company that was on the Allied blacklists, to launder those funds. My testimony also discusses the role that Credit Suisse had as landlord and banker to an Argentine smuggling operation that smuggled Nazis out of Germany and into Argentina. Credit Suisse had maintained bank accounts for many of the key operatives of this so-called rat line. And it is almost certain that it is from those accounts that bribes were paid to French and Swiss officials in order to clear a path for these Nazi war criminals to a life of luxury and prosperity in Argentina as they fled Allied justice. I can't thank you enough for having this hearing today. As Rabbi Cooper mentioned, not only are we seeing a surge in anti-Semitism right now, we're also seeing its normalization. It's everywhere. College campuses, social media, political discourse, even from government officials at times. And one of the things that my testimony shows is what happens when the violent anti-Semitism preached by Hitler in the 1940s and some of the all too common voices of extremism today become mainstreamed. How respected institutions become ready, willing, and able to disregard their morality in pursuit of profits and power. Much like as my testimony describes how Credit Suisse, in order to avoid friction with the Nazis, was willing to execute the grabbing of assets out of its Jewish account holders and dropping them into the accounts of its Nazi bank clients. Time and time again, history has shown what happens when anti-Semitism is met with silence. Today, this committee speaks up. You're making it very clear. The Holocaust did happen. History does matter. And you are saying that never again, not on your watch, will anti-Semitism become normalized and part of business as usual for public and private institutions. Thank you. I look forward to answering any questions you may have. And Chairman Grassley, I would ask that you make my written testimony part of the record of this hearing.
It will be made a part of the record, yes. We have 7 minutes. We have 7-minute questions, one round apiece. So I'll start out with my 7 minutes. General Borowski, you face challenges in overseeing the important and historic investigations. Credit Suisse wrongfully fired you. They smeared your reputation, and recently UBS has imposed access restrictions. So inform the committee how this past and current conduct has impacted your ability to get the job done. In your answer, please address how the current UBS leadership has reacted to your concerns.
It is, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's essential for me to be able to do this job, for me to be able to have access to all relevant documents. And the way to define relevant, these are accounts that indicate whether or not a particular Nazi or Nazi enabler had an account or didn't have an account. That's what we mean by relevant documents. And so when I agreed to come back to UBS, we framed our engagement letter in a way to make sure that what happened previously under Credit Suisse could not happen again. And so our engagement letter makes clear 3 different spots that we're entitled to all documents. The only exception is those that which the bank is prohibited from providing us under law. And so not being able to see a subset of privileged documents for those areas that these documents touch on could have a very significant impact on my ability to finish the job. I don't know what's in those documents. I don't know how it potentially impacts the decision of whether a Nazi had an account or did not have an account. I cannot tell the committee or anyone else if it impacts the extent of the relationships. And these are relevant documents. And just to give you as an example, when this dispute first arose, we gave a set of search terms to the bank. And those search terms were the names of the individuals and entities that are referenced in my written testimony. And we asked them to run them against a set of documents that the bank said might be privileged. And there were hits, there are positives. Those are the documents, some of the documents that are being withheld. And we need to have access to that information in order to finish the job.
Also, to you, describe to the committee the most important investigative findings that you've uncovered to date, and you may have just said that, but go into that.
Thank you. It's a hard question. I think people with different perspectives could look at different things and see different things as being the most important. Certainly the role of the Nazi clients who helped effectuate the Holocaust could be one. As a former prosecutor, the idea of the escape of justice that were facilitated by the Nazi rat lines that the bank was banked and was landlord to. But I think the one that hits me the deepest, Mr. Chairman, is the forced transfer of assets. I can't help, and we have descriptions of different ones, examples that we are disclosing for the first time in my testimony, but I can't help but think of the civil servant. I spent most of my career working in government as a civil servant, and I just can't help but think of that individual saving money, bit by bit. You know, they're not well-paid positions, as we all know, and as sort of the horrors of the Holocaust and Nazi Germany in the 1930s started to descend, thinking, okay, I'm going to put my savings in a Swiss bank. That's where it'll be safe. That's where I can be sure that even if I don't make it out of this, maybe my kids or my grandchildren can have benefit that money that I saved. And so for me, when I think about what must have gone through these people's minds when they found out that their assets, their life savings, are being plucked from their accounts and delivered to their Nazi oppressors. You know, and I think of the individual we talk about as he was boarded on a train to the concentration camp, to his eventual murder, sort of knowing that he had been left penniless at the hands of that Swiss bank. I think that's the one that impacts me the most.